This is the third video in the series on creating a class diagram for the manufacturing plant controller system. If you haven't watched the previous two videos, you should watch them first. At the end of the second video, I asked you to take a look at other possible classes we may add to this class diagram. So far, we had product and product type. A product has one product type, or it is of a type, and a type has many individual products. It might be worth first just adding some attributes here. We said earlier on that a product is going to have a serial number. That identifies the individual product when it's made. And we said that a product type is going to have a description, which is going to be a string. Now, let us think about what other possible classes we might add. To do that, we want to go back to the document, the original document. Let me highlight some of the pieces of this that we want to focus on, okay? It says this plant makes several types of mechanical devices. Now, we already decided that they're going to be the products, okay? So we have these products in the system. But what we're going to focus on is this here. It has 10 assembly lines, each of which can be used in the manufacturing of any of its products. And an assembly line is allocated to a product for a period of time. This is called the product line. And during this product run, the assembly line makes up a specified number of units of the product. I'm going to highlight that because that's what we're going to be working on. Okay, so what I'm suggesting that you do now is you go back, pause the video for a few minutes, and think about how we're going to fit in the notion of the assembly line, the notion of the product run, and the notion of the product unit, which we actually said would be just called product. How are we going to hook those up to the existing classes that we already have? Okay, assuming you've thought about that, let's go and actually make some changes to this model. Okay, let's create class. We have to go to Tools, create class, assembly line. Assembly, ly line. There we go, assembly line. Might as well add an attribute while we're at it, because we know that we're going to have to identify this somewhere. This could be just simply the identification. We're going to call it number. And we could just say that the number is going to be an integer. Oop, didn't spell it right. I can go and change that. N-U-M-B-E-R. I can always edit these things. Double click. Or you could edit the text if you wanted to on the left-hand side. Number is going to be an integer. Okay, so we're going to have these assembly lines, and it says that an assembly line, let's go back to the Word document for a second. It says that assembly line is allocated to a product type presumably, for a period of time. Okay, so we might decide that we would have an association between assembly line and product type. An assembly line is going to make many product types, and over time, a product line might be made by several assembly lines. That's naturally many to many. But we need to capture information about exactly when this is going to be taking place, the time period. Okay. So what we need to do is create a class here, which we're going to call product run. Okay, and we're going to make two associations. The first association is between here and here. Okay, so product run is on an assembly line essentially, and the second association is going to be here and here. So product run is going to make a certain product type. Now, the question is what is the multiplicity? The rule of thumb, always add the multiplicity as soon as you put in any class in the system. Unpl by default, if you do it graphically, will do many to many. That's the most general case. Lower bound 0, upper bound any large number. But we know that, in fact, we want to limit this. We know that a product run is going to be on a particular assembly line. So we can go over here and we can look for these classes and we can say that a product run is going to be on just one assembly line. Okay? And that will change the multiplicity over here. The next thing we want to do is we want to say that a product run is for a particular product type. Okay? So a product run is for a particular product type, just one product type. That will also change the multiplicity over here. It takes 3 seconds or so to decide to do that, decide whether you've finished typing. I'm just going to select this and move it very slightly just so that it's by itself. What we have just added here, in fact, is an association class. Okay, we said there could be a many-to-many relationship between these, but instead of making a many-to-many relationship, what we've done is we've created a class that represents the links of that relationship. So a product run has one assembly line and one type. It relates one assembly line making one type, or it relates one type being made on one assembly line. One to many, one to many. Okay? And by the way, while we're at it, let's add a couple of attributes up here. It says in the requirements that this is going to be for a time period. And it's also going to be, it's going to have a number of units, which we can say is going to be an integer. Okay, so product run has that data. This is the end of the second video. Why don't you think about other associations we might want to add here? One of the things which is important to consider, it says right there in the requirements, is that during the product run, the assembly line makes a specified number of units of a product. So how are we going to add that information into this diagram we're building so far? Think about it and start the fourth video once you've made a decision about that.